Bun găsit! La această oră suntem live ca în fiecare zi la emisiunea zilnică dedicată piețelor financiare. Astăzi suntem împreună cu Peter de Boer de la Agrar. Welcome Peter, see you again. We are very glad.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back on your show.
Yes, and congratulations. You were the man of the evening yesterday at the Agrar Gala. Let's say to the followers, you had to rent a van, a small van to carry the 5 awards. Yes, but I told you before it's on merit or true merit. The communication, you have the reports, and they are the top. So good luck in the future and keep the good work.
Yeah, thank you very much for the congratulations. And yeah, it was last night an amazing evening to be awarded, especially on the investor relations event, which is my main responsibility, of course. And yeah, it motivates us, to even improve further our reports and our analysis. And it's a huge support for us to see that it is appreciated and valued internally by the market, and especially that the jury existed of so many specialists of the Romanian capital market.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about these numbers, the financial and the operational. A turnover at the 9 months up 9%, yes, and the net profit decreased 6%. The first question my first question is why it is on the net profit, and let's look at the budget at the end of the year. You can make these 30 millions, but let's discuss the numbers.
Yeah, of course, we showed a turnover increase. We are already a bit proud of that because we showed for a long time a quite stable turnover. It was more or less every time the same. The reason for the increase in turnover is the increase in milk production. We had an increase of 14% in milk production. So that is what mainly contributed to the increase of the turnover. To the net profit, of course, there are two main factors. If we look to the first 9 months, we still have a lower milk price per liter of milk of approx 4.89%. So let's say 4.9%. It is further decreasing. If you look back to Q1, we had a decrease in milk price above 20%. Then in the second quarter of the 6 months, it was around 10%, and now it's around 5%. So we come closer and closer to the price of the previous year, but still almost 5% decrease in milk price compared to last year. Of course, that has an effect. Next to that, of course, as well is the depreciation. The depreciation increased with approx 20%. That mainly had to do with the reevaluation of last year of the buildings, etc. So we had quite significant increase in depreciation, as well as that more cows came into production. So when a heifer, a young cow, let's say, who doesn't give milk, transform into a cow that starts to produce milk, from then you start also becomes a fixed asset, and you start to depreciate on this as well. So we had also a larger number of productive cows in that group. So
I have a small questions about the milk price. It's volatile, of course, every time, and more or less that affects the business. Logically, the bigger prices maybe fit you, lower prices no. But it's so easy, it's so simple, or it's more complicated than this?
No, it's more complicated. Also, for example, you have always a price, a fixed price, let's say, or a certain price that you get for your milk, but also you get usually a certain bonus for your fat and your protein. Now, as another factor, as well as we had this year-long heat wave. I mentioned also before in other meetings, the heat wave started half of May in our area, and it finished, let's say, somewhere in September. And of course, it doesn't when the cows are under. When you have such a long heat wave, we saw a huge decrease for many months. You saw the first effect in June, July, August, September. You saw a huge decrease in production. I think over the whole year we will miss almost let's say, I think somewhere between 4 and 5 million liters because of this heat wave. So that has another result, but it has not only a result in the reduction of liter of milk produced, it has also an effect on your fat and protein in the milk. Let's say, because when it is more hot weather, the cows eat less, so automatically this is connected to each other. So next to having generally received a lower milk price, also these kind of things have an effect in it. And of course, we showed that 14% increase in milk, but of course 14% there you have also cost. Let's say it's the milk price doesn't go directly into your net profit. So I think the explanations are quite clear, and I think we are transparent about it. Like as I said, okay, increase in depreciation, of course, has directly an effect on the net profit, buildings, and more animals, lower milk price, and also yes, we had this long heat wave, and it's not, even if it becomes colder in September, or in the second part of September, it's not that you push on a button. Let's say we work with animals by the end of the day, so it takes time. But we see currently a significant increase in milk production. We saw this last month, and we see that in the upcoming months. And if we look to the milk price, we see it already for several months going up, and we just received the milk price also that we will receive in January, and again it will be a significant, relatively significant increase in January. So on that perspective, we expect at least growth, or at least stable growth, or at least no decrease till the end of April next year.
Okay, so we can estimate, or actually you can estimate that in the future, I mean the first 6 months of 2025, as a consequence of this, the price of the milk actually will increase, will not decrease, for sure.
Okay, I'm not God.
No, okay, but which is the most, or actually your best case scenario, or base scenario, actually?
No, at least for the first 4 months, we expect an increase. Anyway, every year we see this, although this year it was a bit different because we had this sharp decrease of milk price in the first couple of months. So we saw this year even really small increases in the summer, but usually it is like the milk price increases from the later in the autumn till the spring or end of spring, and in the summer there's usually a decrease in milk price, and that we expect more or less to happen for the coming period. But of course, we see consequences. Just in Denmark, a major exporter in milk production, they just closed a agricultural deal in their country, which means a reduction in future milk production. In the Netherlands, they are still negotiating also on such a deal. In both scenarios, it means that those countries will in the future less exports. There will be less export of milk, and we see in the world that there's a higher and higher demand. So normally for the future, we expect that the milk price remains on a higher level, let's say, and not so that it goes back so far under 40 cents or so.
Okay. And obviously the drought from this summer obviously badly affected all the companies in agriculture. We have talked here with other CEOs of other companies that are in this field, and for sure they are not happy. Coming back to, or actually, let's talk a little bit from an operational perspective, and please give us some insights regarding your latest investment plans, or what did you do actually, and what did you achieve these 9 months of 2024 until now?
Yeah, so on the drought part, it was a heavy year on the high temperatures for the animal part. And although it was a really drought year, we had sufficient rainfall on the right moments, and we were quite lucky, let's say. I would say, especially I think only the Transylvanian region in Romania had quite a successful agricultural year. On every crop, we harvested higher number of tons per hectare than we had last year. It can also be seen in our stocks. So if you look to the financials, we had a stock increase of they increased approximately 22% compared to last year, which was a harder year for food. And that was quite successful, as well as we invested for 1 million euros in new machinery that can simultaneously fertilize and sow. So that is then one production, and that will help us to reduce 40% of our sowing cost. Okay, mainly this effect will be seen next year because we purchased the machinery this year and we could only partly use it. But we started to do low till and no till on different depends on the crops for this year, and the results are really good. It's also good for on the long term. You damage less the soil, especially also with this machine when you do simultaneously. Besides reducing the seeding cost, it's also one operation. Fertilizing and seeding you do in one operation. So it is with that automatically next to the financial benefits, it also has less effect on the soil, of course, because you drive less over this over the soil in the land. Then, of course, we finalized the investment. To keep on the crops, that looks good. We have we sold less because outside the group, almost everything. Okay, we had some sunflower and these kind of crops that we sold outside of the group, but far majority remains in the group to perform circular agriculture and to mainly secure for the food for the animals for the next year, especially that we also soon will open the Strategie farm.
Let's talk a little bit about your compost factory that, as we saw, will become operational soon, or has already become. What are the news here?
Yeah, we although it is heavily delayed, we're also disappointed about that. But every time we try to be transparent with our announcement, and the result of that is. Then when there are delays, that you need to come back on your words that you stated before. But that was the information we got from the supplier. But everything is now installed, and now we start in the testing phase. And you should see one operation when you enter the compost of the manure in the compost machine. It takes 27 days. It rotates for 27 days, and then you have the first final product. And it will take 2 to 3 months, 2 or 3 of those cycles to find the correct recipe. Then next to that, what we will do is we will certify it as organic fertilizer for the Romanian markets. And in the meantime as well, we will try to certify it as well as organic fertilizer for the European market. And what is the difference? Because if it's fertilizer, it is fertilizer. But if we would sell it directly when it comes out of the machine as normal fertilizer, the market prices are, let's say, 70 euros per ton if you would sell it in big bags. If you certify it as organic fertilizer, the prices in Romania, they vary between 230 and 300 euros per ton. So, of course, it really improves the business case. And next to that, on the long run, when the recipe is optimized, etc., we would like also to sell it on the European market to organic farmers or to vegetable farmers, because there the prices are higher. And of course, in the future, we could also think of in a packaging machine of 40,000 euros, which could pack the organic fertilizer in 5, 10, and 20 liter packaging. We can produce 7,000 tons per year of output, and we will obtain voluntary certificates. So those 16,000 per year we estimate, and this we will receive 2 years after the first operations. We cooperate with a consultancy firm on this. And those certificates, at the moment, they have one certificate has a value, let's say, approximately to 20 euros. In the coming 2 years, it's expected to grow at least above 30 euros per certificate. And this we can sell, let's say, to other companies who would like to reduce their emissions, but maybe cannot do it, or who needs to fulfill to their ESG report or whatsoever. But it will be another income stream.
Speaking about sustainable agriculture, also digitalization, you have some news. We heard some news some month ago about this biomethane production for this sustainable strategy. Let's talk about this because and how this will affect the business in the future, because you had some strategic plans. I remember 2 years ago you have 5 years, the optimistic, the pessimistic, and the normal way to develop, and then it happens, and maybe it's better for the business, maybe a little more cost, I don't know.
No, we signed a few months ago with Black Sea Oil and Gas, a major player here in Romania, who gets gas out of the Black Sea. And we started the negotiation with several parties over a year, no, almost a year ago. So it was quite a long process. And of course, this will the biomethane production is not in our current scenario. So that we will currently we are working on the scenarios, and normally next year, either in the annual report or maybe a little bit earlier already, we will update the scenarios. But what this means with the biomethane production is that we reduce our emissions with 90%. So that's the first step, and especially as a major player and soon the largest milk producer in the EU, of course, we need to be a leader. First of all, we want to be a leader and we want to be innovative, but also, when you are a leader, you need to come. We need to act responsible, and of course, authorities will have a closer look to you. So first of all, we reduce our emissions with 90%, and secondly, it will be a new income stream. It is more or less a sales agreement. Let's say that we closed with Black Sea Oil and Gas, so we need to provide the feedstock. And we, of course, feedstock in general can consist of several pillars, but in our case, it's all waste. So we can provide the feedstock, and for that we get X amount, and that will have a significant impact. We estimate that at minimum it would generate as revenues at least between 3 and 3.5 million euros on an annual basis. It's a contract for 15 years. That will have a significant influence on our scenarios, as you can imagine, as well as, of course, the compost. The compost we kept it quite conservative in our scenarios. So also there, I think we could increase a bit the scenarios.
But can you tell something about these scenarios, or not now at the moment? To be optimistic, to be, I don't know.
No, at the moment, I think at the moment we are on scenario 3, more or less. I think at the moment, but more on the. And of course, if you would include the biomethane, etc., then we are clearly, if we just follow the structure of the 4 scenarios, of course, then we are clearly in scenario 4. That must be clear. But of course, things need also to be settled. I mean, still injection into the grid in Romania is a problem. Although legislation was under consultation at the beginning of or in April or May, and as well, the Romanian government has a strategy that before 2030, 5% of the gas production needs to be biomethane production. At the moment, that is more or less 0 in Romania, and for 2050, it needs to be 10%. So that is the own strategy of the government. So we saw also some other announcements from Engie and Heineken and some other companies. So you can see that. More discussions are taking place also in the media. So we are quite convinced that, and optimistic that this will come up, especially with the injection into the grid. And of course, we start now with all the procedures, etc. We're not standing still. We are really working every day with both companies on this project. And in the next year, I expect that we can come with a clear timeline. But in total, our goal is of course to execute in max 2.5 years, latest 3, with something like this.
We have some questions also in the chat from our viewers, but before that, I would like to ask you about your one of your most important projects that will be live, I guess, next year. Yeah, in the early part of next year. We already discussed about it in our earlier. In our previous meetings, the Strategie project, which will contribute, of course, significantly to your expansion in production and so on. What can you tell us here? What are the updates, and if the schedule, or actually if you are on schedule, or maybe ahead of the schedule, could be. What can you tell us about these investments?
We are clearly not ahead of schedule, I would say, but no, that was mainly to the rainfall, where the rainfall was really beneficial on the right moments for the agricultural year. For the Strategie project, it was a disaster because at that time we were mainly constructing the foundation, and of course you can imagine those big holes. They are filled all the time up with water, and we needed to empty and these kind of things. So it was somehow quite a drama. Now everyone is working really, really hard. In 2 weeks, in 1 week. The team from Dairy Master, from which we bought the milking parlor, the rotor, they will come to Romania and they will stay here for 3 weeks to install the first rotor. We will have 2 milking rotors, 5,000 animals, milking 3 times per day. We finished the construction for the stables for the first 1,120 productive cows, so that's finished. Also the water storage is finished. So now the 2 things that need to be finished to really start new production there is the milking parlor and the waiting room, and that needs to be done simultaneously with the construction to the engineering. So we make significant steps. The goal was now really end of December, beginning of January. I think it will not be this year anymore because the milking parlor will be finalized. But then, of course, you get also the question, around Christmas, New Year, is that then the right moment to start? As well as we need to analyze a bit the consequences of the subsidies. The subsidy year for animals goes from March and then to a year. So that the subsidy year goes from March to March.
And also, I would like, as we see here on this slide, that this project was financed, or actually is financed through a credit facility and your own sources. Will this delay that you talked us about will incur other type of financing, or you will be able to do it as you said through credit and through your own resources?
No, there is no issue. Also not with the financial date, with the full operational date. That's end of 2027 when the farm needs to be fully equipped with 5,000 animals. 4,000 dairy cows, 1,000 young stock, and the end date is not in danger or whatsoever. But of course, you need to have the milking parlors. We have all the materials for the milking parlors we have, but they need to be operational in the waiting room. And the other on that part, on the milking parlors and the main building, we of course depend on an external constructor. All the other buildings, so for the stables that are already finished, that is all done by our own construction team. So there we have full control, and there you can also see that we can stick to the schedule that we planned, because we are not dependent on external factors. But by the end of 2027, it's not an issue. So if it takes longer, a few more weeks, it only will mean that we will that with more animals than that, with over 1,000 animals will enter the farm faster, because the schedule is normally now the 1,120 animals, and then every month it will increase with 100 dairy cows. Of course, at the moment, this puts pressure logistically, let's say, especially on the Appold farm, because we planned ahead with the new animals, and of course, the animals are there. So that means that we needed to be flexible and to put some extra animals outside and these kind of things. So that puts pressure. So we have some months of delay, but soon it will come up.
Okay.
Let's look, maybe Cătălin, if you have ready the
price, and then we will take some questions from the chat. I will speak in Romanian to understand better our viewers. E un range, se vede foarte clar, deci e aproape 10 luni și a mai fost un range 18 luni aici, uitați-vă puțin, chiar 8 luni, unul mic și după aia prețul a bubuit și acum după creșterea asta fenomenală, prețul consolidează și consolidarea asta pare bună pentru o mișcare ulterioară către 1,9, către 2. Vedeți de câte ori a fost rezistența aici de 2 ori la 1,68 și de 2 ori aici, vedeți și acum la 1,61 rotund. În schimb, suportul e în zona asta, 1,43, 1,45, cam pe aici, 1,48. Vedeți, se cumpără de fiecare dată. A scăzut și acum, sentimentul în piață nu e prea bun. Sunt de multe ori și mișcări forțate, dar poate unii care vor să intre profită de aceste mișcări. Important e suportul. Singurul lucru negativ de pe graficul ăsta, că în rest îmi place, e faptul că minimele astea sunt din ce în ce mai mici și mi-e frică să nu treacă sub ăsta, să se ducă mai jos, dar mai e mult până acolo. Deocamdată s-a cumpărat și astăzi, au fost volume nu prea mari, dar peste media ultimelor zile. Deci cam așa văd, atenție la range, cu cât se prelungește mai mult putem vedea o creștere ulterior.
Okay, before concluding and wrapping up this meeting, maybe with a few words from you, Peter, about your vision, your 2027-2028 vision about the company. Let's take a few questions from the chat. And the first one is like this: what will happen if the milk prices go 10 or 20% lower? Is or will then Agrar still be profitable? Margins are dropping in this anyway in these conditions.
Yeah. No, I think at the beginning of the year we showed where we had a decrease of I don't do from my head, but somewhere between 20 and 25%, we had a decrease. We showed that we were able to increase our profit margin. Before it was something around 15%, and then we increased it to 18% at that time. So of course we can take measurements, but of course if it increases like 20% or so, or decreases with 20% or so, so yeah, they are quite significantly. So of course that would be then for sure we will not be in scenario 3, let's say, and then you come closer to scenario 1. But normally, if you look to the world market, where majoring exporting countries in Western Europe, as I mentioned already, the Netherlands, Denmark, etc., in the future, and we see already a decrease in those countries because there exist already for several years buying out programs from the government, so that the government buys out those farmers. So there's a clear reduction in those countries, as well as the far majority of the farmers in those countries are over 50 years old. So also we see a natural exit of a lot of farms because they don't have a follow-up in their company. So normally the milk production will be reduced in the coming years, and then we see a higher demand in the world economy, or a higher amount also for in the south, etc. So normally this will not really happen, and we expect that it remain on a higher level.
So you're optimistic about this, the evolution of milk price, actually?
Yes, of course, on the milk, but I think as well as, and it was a question that was raised many times, is okay, please, that we got from investors, please try to diversify more your clients on the milk part. Now, that as the Romanian milk market is quite consolidated, it's not so easy with the quantities that we produce, or it's really difficult to find, to really differentiate your clientele, let's say, and to be predictable and all these kind of, and you don't end up in other issues. What I would say, through now diversifying our income streams through the compost and the biomethane, you will see from 2027, 2028, if the biomethane also comes in force, that if you would call it dependency on milk, let's say, will significantly be reduced. So now that is, let's say, 90%, that will probably around 50% whatsoever, and the other 50% will be brought up by those two other, with the compost and with the biomethane. In both cases, the profit margins at those business streams, of course, are significantly higher than the profit margin we have on the business.
Okay, we have another question more about, or actually related to the evolution of the share price, and it's like this: in order to increase liquidity, do you intend to make another, I don't know, private placement in 2025?
For the moment,
or maybe other sources of financing, maybe bonds or something like this, to expand a little bit.
And the 2025 is still in place for the principal market, for the main market?
No. Next year we will not go. Of course, it is always the formal way to say it. Of course, is also we discuss with our investors, and then we will take the decision to go to the main market. But no, I don't see this happen. We want to come close to a market cap of 100 million euros, and then to do the entry to the main market. And of course, then also matters the market circumstances. Of course, a market cap, as you all know, way better than I do, but depends on way more factors than only good results or growth or these kind of things. It also depends on the market conditions, on the image of the company, etc. So you cannot fully control this. But I had many meetings with pension fund and institutional investors. The feedback is extremely positive, and that they are willing to invest in us, but they also need a certain size, and also they look for projects, I don't know, 20, 30 million, let's say. Of course, now current market cap of 50, 60 million, it's quite a lot. To further reduce our participation, as I one time mentioned before, is that I think before going to the main market, probably maybe we would lower it a little bit, but we don't want to come under the 50%. Also, not so close. So if we would, then it would be. If we would do it, but at the moment there are no plans at all. So normally I don't think we will do it. But in case we will do it, it will be only a few percent. So now we have, I think, approx 64. So maybe from 64 to 60, or it will be more or less something like this. Another thing could be, of course, we are really looking for M&As. Seriously looking. So of course that could be a reason to go to the capital market. But of course that we also will only do that the value or the increase of value for the company is significant for the current shareholders.
Okay, so we actually quite reached the final part of our mission. Yes, please.
I want to ask you about two questions about the Investor Day you had last year. You will have another one next year. What?
Yes, we will soon announce our agenda. We will have next year an Investor Day, and we also aim to do a press day. So somewhere that will be both, I think, aligned or 2 days after each other, as well as, of course, we are currently also to mention to the main market is currently we are implementing IFRS. So, and if everything goes well, probably somewhere next year we will start also to report in IFRS. The Investor Day will happen, and we will visit normally what some things will be on the agenda, but I will not discuss everything. But for sure, a visit to the compost plant, to the Strategie farm, let's say, for sure, those things will be on the agenda.
Okay, so in the final, what is your opinion regarding the this year, actually, the 2024, and what do you think about reaching your income statement goals or budgeting goals for this year? Do you think they are achievable now?
Little guidance, something in this moment.
Yeah, no, of course it is. It's a bit hard to say, especially tomorrow we have the teleconference with our investors, so I need to to do the right follow of events, let's say. Okay, I'm not, generally what I can say is we always have a optimistic or advanced budget when we design it, so we don't budget in a conservative way. We set it really as a target. That being said, I saw already the results for October. They are really promising. So I'm not sure if you reach exactly the budget, but I think we will. Like last year, the result after 9 months and the 12 months they remained more or less the same. And what I can say that we will make a significant growth also in the last quarter. So for sure we will show a significant growth. Our end result will show a significant growth compared to last year. If that will be exactly the result, or there will be a variation, I don't know, of approximately 10% or whatsoever. Okay, that could be. But at least what I can say is that I expect a serious growth after those.
So at the end, the strategic projects we saw before, maybe we see again, they are on the target and becoming a major European milk producer, or maybe the biggest, how you told me before. These numbers will be, I don't know, achieved in 27, 28. Huh?
Yes, I think, and that's also for the investors that we aim to is, you should, especially in the agriculture sector, you need to look a bit more on the long term, and with the financing of Exim Bank, with finance for the Strategie project, which is just the operational part, the construction needs to be done in the coming years. we have the compost, and if then also the biomethane production, then we have a really diversified business model that consists of three main income streams. Being a leader producer in milk with production of over 300,000 liters per day at that time, over 100 million liters on an annual basis. I think the outlook, and of course I'm a little bit biased as I represent the Agrar, but I think if you look objectively to all the investments that are going on, diversification, significantly increased, doubling the business. I think the outlook is it's really positive, and the growth normally should be there in those years.
Okay, and your message for the investors now at the end of the show, what is this message?
First of all, that I invite our investors tomorrow. I think at 5 p.m. We have our investors call. You can still register for that. We will have also translation into Romanian over there, and there also the CFO and the CEO will participate. So then we go deeper into the financials and also the other plans that we have. And secondly, I would like to thank our investors for the trust so far shown. I think we are really satisfied with the growth on the capital market and the trust. At the moment, we have over 3,000 investors. And yes, be a bit patient, have a bit patient of 1 or 2 years, let's say, to execute really our plans. And I think then for everyone, for the Agrar, for all our stakeholders, and of course, the investors are part of that, we can work together to a nice and relatively significant growth.
Avem și un raport de analiză, Tiberiu, și cei care ne urmăriți, cred că la începutul lunii sau luna trecută, nu mai țin minte, cu un target price 1,70 și ceva, deci o posibilitate mare de creștere. Thank you very much, Peter, for this discussion. Good luck in the future. Hope to see you again.
Thank you very much, and it was a pleasure to be here again. Hope to see you soon.
Ok, încheiem aici ediția de astăzi. Vă dăm întâlnire mâine. Până atunci, seară plăcută și profitabilă. La revedere!